Okay, so we've reached the end of 1945, and we did the roll. We do have enough time for one more turn. However, the roll was a 2. We needed a 4 or less to end the game, and the game has ended. So, I'll tell you the score right now. So the Axis with Moose and who else was there? Hilltop Pillbox. They got 14 points. And Friendly Fire, who's playing the common turn, got 3 points. And the Allies with Rank Carcass and General Hand Grenade got 7 points. So the Axis win this table. Now we're waiting on the other table. It's Germany's turn over there at the end of this round. Then their game is going to end because we're running out of time and we're not going to do the variable in there. I think it's not even going to make it to the end of the war. They're just going to end the game after this round. It was decided last night to do that. So anyway, I'll tell you what happened here. It was the game actually ended probably last night as far as determining who the winner was going to be. Lots of things happened near the end of last night that ended the game, or that sealed the fate of everybody involved. So let's get to it. First of all, we're looking in the med here. As you can see, one of the few things that the Allies could do with the limited amount of time we had today was to try to limit the number of points that Rome had, or that the Italians had. And we would have liked to have taken Rome out, because we would have taken all of the Italian points. As it was, we left Italy with only 1 point, and that's the point they get for their capital in Rome here, right? So that we did pretty good there. I mean, before today started, I think they had 4 points, and we managed to chop them down to the 1 point, because they have 2 territories in the home land there, and the Italians had 2 points. And so we knocked those 2 points down by taking those 2 territories. This was quite the battle up here in northern Italy. This isn't actually a 10 here. I ran out of Marine chips, so that's this guy here is 1 Marine. So with 1 Marine and 5 tanks, he managed to take northern Italy. He probably could have taken it back if we still played another turn, taken that territory back, but of course, no chance to. Another thing that happened up here, the Americans went after Paris. Let me just go back over there and see if Paris is in the camera. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, so they went after Paris, and they didn't get it, because that would have given the Allies a couple more points, right? It would have given them the city. Plus they had a point or 2 for the French, but they don't get to count the points, right? Because they, actually I don't know that they would have counted the points unless they'd taken more territories back of their own. But they would have gotten Paris, they would have got the point for that, but it didn't happen. So that was close. But one thing that they almost did do, it was actually a pretty funny battle. You killed the fighters, the German. Yeah, there was a battle for Belgium here, and he scrambled his 4 fighters into there, and Rank Carcass hit him all on the first round with his planes, and so that gave me an opening here to take Western Germany, and we fought, and then finally we got it down to where there was 1 unit each, one infantry each. Or I had an infantry, you had.
We each had an infantry.
Okay. Yeah, and we both missed like 3-4 times, and then I hit, and I was all excited, and then he hit. And what an asshole! So anyway, he managed to keep Western Germany. Otherwise, they would have lost a point there. But he managed to keep it. So there you go. Really, really well played game by everybody. Just a couple of mistakes in the game that determined the fate of the game. I'll show you the one in Asia there that happened that probably decided the game. So
the deciding factor over here was Smolensk.
Yeah. So here, here that's what's left of the American Navy there, and the American Navy also they were setting up because we didn't know if there was going to be another round. These guys could have hit Rome on the next turn, right? So whatever the British could go in there with, plus whatever the Americans could go in there with, and you got to remember that with Rome having or with the Italians having no factories, all they could have put on maybe was a couple of militia, if that, right, into Rome, and that's it. So we might have been able to get it, but of course that we didn't. Anyway, over here. So what happened in Smolensk? What happened in Smolensk? Hey. What happened in Smolensk to change the fate?
A tactical error on my part, forgetting that militia could attack with
okay. Anyway, so things are really thin here now, but that's not the way it was. It was a huge build-up the whole game, especially with all the advanced mechs, like just tons of them. Like they killed hundreds and hundreds of IPPs worth of advanced mechs on the Eastern Front. But as it was, the Russians managed to get, I think, 2 points on here. Did you get any points over here? I don't think you did. Did you?
For West Poland, Warsaw, and Vilna.
Oh, okay. So you got a point. So I think it was 2-1 for points given out on the Eastern Front here for the Russians. So that was really close, and it was a heck of a battle the whole game. For us, for sure.
To cut down his point by keeping him with weight.
Yeah. So anyway, that was a big battle. The Russians last night they took out the German, or no, there was the Germans that tried to take the Russians out. It's like they all hit an iceberg or something. 5 subs in the bottom of the ocean, and the Russians are going, "What was that?" Anyway, on the other side of Russia. Of course, they lost a point. So that really hurts the Russians. That's why the Russians are only at 3 points right now. He played a heck of a game. It's just Russia's so vulnerable to points, and the one mistake he made, I think it was a mistake, and people can debate that, but was when he attacked Iraq. Because that gave the Allies the ability to declare war on them. And what that meant is that we could come up here. Rankarkas came up there and took out 2 more points for him. So that's, he took off 2 other points. And plus we hurt him a couple other ways too, carpet bombing and stuff like that, right? So that was something that knocked his points down, as well as losing territories. And down in China, like nothing happened in China for the last half of the game. It was like that was the big fight, first half of the game. And then we got so many units in there, it was just not worth it for people to attack. It was worth it for people to defend. And so that's all that happened, was just a defending. You see the bombers here in Japan. That's Hilltop Pillbox saying, "I don't need anything, so I'll just buy a bunch of bombers." You guys can all go.
I got long range.
You guys can all go rail yourselves.
Some sake.
So the Americans ended up with no points except for their capital, because he came up here on the last turn and took these out. I didn't have any transports left, so there was nothing I could do to take points from him or take points for myself. And so that was a good game on his part. I did buy 3 more battleships, but I didn't have time to put them on. Like I would have put them on next turn. I might have got the point for the capital ships, but ran out of time, right? But really, really interesting battle in the Pacific. The one deciding factor, I think, in the whole game was when we had the battle here in the Caroline Islands with the navies. I probably should have waited 1 more turn before. I just thought, you know what, let's see how things are going to go in this game. Something's going to happen. I knew he would attack me. I was just hoping that he would lose. And I think it was about even going in, but he got the upper hand, especially in the first round. I think he hit me 8 times and I only hit him 4. And so that was the deciding factor that decided the battle. And that gave him the ocean, right? If it would have went the other way, it's like the Battle of Midway. If it went the other way, then then the Americans would be out here and the Japanese would be defending. But me, like I was, in the end, I was putting infantry units on the west coast because I didn't want them to land there, right? So, plus he managed to take more points off us because he had all the transports, we had none. So he was able to just stop dropping guys on all these islands and everything. This is the only one that took a point off. And the other point that we couldn't get was here in Malay, because the FEC needed this territory here in order to get their point, but it didn't happen. Africa, not really much of a battle. Like there was a little bit of battles, you know, and that's probably like Second World War. Like there was a bit of fighting, but not much, right? Not really much happening. The French conflict was really nothing. Like absolutely nothing. I think the Free French Navy attacked the Vichy French Navy. That was the only fighting between them. We thought about taking Vichy France, but it wasn't going to get us any points, and so we thought, you know, like, well, let's not bother, right? And those guys that we thought about doing it with, they ended up taking northern Italy, so that was a better move anyway, right? Good thing that we had some sober second thought there.
Yes,
we almost did it.
We almost gave it.
This bomber's not actually in Tibet here. He's over here. Oh. Anyway, that is what happened in this game from my perspective. I'm going to turn it over to my fellow competitors to tell me what they thought happened in the game. This is Moose.
All right, folks. So this is Hilltop Pillbox here, having the privilege of speaking on General Hand Grenade's video of the wrap-up. And we are, as you all know, we are done. And I didn't have much to do over here as Japan. In fact, I didn't even try to go for Calcutta. That was right at the start of the game. I told myself the juice ain't worth the squeeze. I'm going to focus on the Pacific and focus on defending the coast of China. So early on, I had an understanding with the Comintern that he could have the interior. Whoops, I guess I should point this at the right thing here. I should, that I was going to take the coast and he was going to go for the interior, and that was the thing. Hey, you do that, and it actually held for most of the game. He did, of course, come and stir things up with me because he wanted to go for some prestige points. Totally understandable. And but that just drew my ire, and I had a lot of air power and naval power to move things around. So, sorry, it's pretty loud in here. Trying to cover the mic a bit. And then over in the Pacific, well, first we'll talk about Dutch East Indies. I never actually took Sumatra because it's not one of the ones I have to take. It is worth $2, and that was going to Britain the whole game. But again, I think I would have been overextended. The farthest my boats ever went, this is as far as my boats ever went in the game. I did send subs down here to do some raiding, but they just died, which just proved my point. So I said, I'm going to focus on the Pacific. That's what I'm going to do. And so that did pay off for me because I was able to keep everything close to home. I was able to reinforce. I was able to strike out at anything that got within any kind of decent range. And that kept the Americans at bay. There was the one big fight, I'm pretty sure General Hand Grenade talked about at the Caroline. I honestly didn't think I was going to win it, but like you said, I had a really good opening round, including 3 target selects with my subs. And so I took out a battleship and a cruiser, a heavy cruiser, just done. So that really steered the battle from there. But I had also built a bunch of ships to replace my losses, and since I didn't have all the losses I thought I was going to have, I all of a sudden had fleets. And that was the same turn that I came down here and took out the Anzac fleet. So, because Anzac, as we know, Anzac's broke, and even with getting their Lend-Lease, they're not going to be making a lot of ships. So I thought if I can punch them out, it'll be 3 or 4 or 5 turns before they can have any sort of a real threat to me. So then all I got to worry about is FEC and the Americans. But then right at that moment, Italy declared war, and that caused the FEC to head west instead of into the Pacific. And so that gave me a lot of freedom. I'm spending money how I want to spend it, not how I have to. And that kind of set the tone for Japan. And with no American transports or FEC transports or ANZAC transports, I decided to just go around and gobble up all these islands. Doesn't really do anything, but it also put me in a position where I was going to try something. And this next turn, actually, I was thinking of maybe heading over towards Mexico and trying to grab Mexico if I could, because it's American territory. So, but anyway, that's pretty much the whole game that I know a lot about. I know that you've already heard from the other guys about everything else, but just had a great time here. This is a great tournament. Full marks to Sky Marshall for hosting it, getting everything ready. Also to General Hand Grenade for having his table all ready to go here and supporting Sky Marshall in that way. We've had a great time, and yeah, not much else to say. Great players all around. And I don't think anybody made any mistakes, really. Not game breakers. I just think it was just 5 guys just hammering away at each other here on this board, and it was a great time. So full marks to everybody. Had a great time, and I'm sure that General Hand Grenade will talk about what went on Table Bismarck. But this is it for Table Hood from Hilltop Pillbox. There might be somebody else coming along to talk. I'll just pause it here.
All right, hello, RC on General Hand Grenade's channel. I'm going to do you a little update on what I thought was the most pivotal stuff of the game. I'm going to wander you around here, and
He still wins the bed.
I had a lot of problems with the Germans. They were being difficult to deal with, and but then we kind of got them to the point where when Russia started attacking up in here, we had a little bit of background, and we gave us some breathing room. And I was moving all my fleet and a whole bunch of land units down through here, and I was planning on coming in and starting to smash into the Japanese, and then the Italians saved the Japanese ass because I was going into them, and then Italy attacked me and took this. So I had to turn around. And go that way. And that's how it worked out. So, and another thing that really affected the game was Russia gave me the opportunity to attack them. So as you can see, I've worked my way through here. A little help from the Americans the whole way. General Hand Grenade was a very helpful co-player here, so I've had to be very busy. I've successfully taken Cyprus back, and I took Thessaly away from the Germans, and I took Albania. I had Yugoslavia previously, but I lost it, of course. And then this last turn here, we were setting up for a Rome invasion. I just had too many air units out of position. So rather than doing that, we cut off the rail supply from Germany, so Germany couldn't just, rail 4 units down here. And we took the factory away, so Rome couldn't build anything. Plus, we took away a -1 point here and a -1 point there. So Italy ended up with just Rome, and we could have taken that next turn, but we rolled a 2, so the game is over. On this side, the Americans were very helpful with their 6 transport shuck. We had a setup where they had 2 groups of 6 landing, 6 every turn, wasn't it? And that pressure on the Germans, along with the Russians, allowed me as Britain, with my tiny income, to actually get involved and do something, and have it last rather than land somewhere and then get kicked out. Other than that, I still have a rather sizable fleet, which is shocking. And on this side, Japan has been a complete annoyance. I just couldn't build anything up. I was trying to get my Navy to come across and join the Australian Navy, but once Japan took out my Australian Navy and reinforced Malay and took out the American Navy, there was a combination of this. There was just nowhere I didn't have enough units to compete with his income, and neither did the Americans alone. So plus I had to deal with Italy, so Italy saved all the Japanese points. And great friend. And that's that.
They threw themselves in front of you.
He threw himself under the bus, and you maxed out on points, didn't you? It was amazing. And there's no guarantee I would have taken any points off you because you had a lot of stuff. There was a lot of fighting that could have happened. We would have been rolling mitts full of dice, but they were doing that in Russia.
That's true.
Russia and Germany, every round it was like, okay, 18 militia in the dice tray. It's like they went to a store and they were just like putting a bin underneath the hopper and going, and just filling up the bulk purchases. Every round, like round after round, both sides. It was crazy. Militia, infantry, and militia and advanced mechs. Like, I'm gonna roll 24 advanced mechs in round 4. But yeah, those were probably the deciding factors, and especially up here, the major battles up there. There's been a few things that went one way or another, and we'll see how that works. They were throwing, like, literally our chip bins were empty, and then they just kept filling up once they started fighting. All right, I'll leave you there.
Hello there, this is Moose, and this is my little after-action report. After-action report for Germany and Italy. So, I had a decent game. It was a little hard in Russia. Friendly Fire put up a good defense, and it all hinged on a battle in Smolensk. And I will say this, it was a lot of a tactical error on my part. I forgot that his militia could attack me in in Russia. A little slip of the mind, but that's how these games go. And so he annihilated my main attack force in Smolensk and rolled all the way over into West Poland, and I managed to hold it. I turned into Russia and fall back, and then got a couple points back in Poland there. On this side here, I was able to defend Paris, so I was able to keep them out of there. They were landing with a lot of stuff every turn there, so it was just a matter of time, but I was able to reinforce it enough and hold on to it. And they did take a point away from me in Belgium there, and almost took a point away from me in Western Germany. It came down to the wire there, and was able to kill his last invader when my defender died. And then in Italy here, I got crushed a little bit here. I was playing a distraction game, diverting the British forces away from Japan over there and into the Mediterranean. So I tied them up and let Hilltop Pillbox run wild there. It might have been a little bit of a different game if I had managed to take Eastern Egypt with more than one Marine left, but hey, that's the way the dice roll. And so they were able to surround Rome almost, and another turn, those Americans and British that were already there would probably crush Rome. So I'm glad the dice were in our favor and the game ended before that happened. But yeah, all in all, good game, and yeah.
Kaiser Siriana here, just talking about my game. As you can see, I got conquered and beaten to death by the Nazis. Stakes are made in my end, particularly not protecting Oil Curse, the factory in the middle, because I thought I'd have time to move it before it's too late. As you can see, the Germans have just ravaged their way across to Europe, using a lot of actual infantry and horses to do it, believe it or not, with some aircraft support. And they came in from the east, and then what did it was medium bombers. They built like 10 medium bombers and just pounded Moscow from the air with some land. And then Stalingrad and Leningrad fell soon after that. While on the eastern front, my Eastern Front, trying to rage a campaign against the Japanese. Fortunately, I made them angry and they took Vladivostok from me. China, on the other hand, didn't get too far. They always were hanged up in their capital and broke out. Fortunately, we cut a deal with KMT early to align certain warlords so that we would both be beneficial, but managed to get Mao's army into Rihi at one point, but that failed, as the Japanese just took it right back. That was just more of a hoodwink move, really, than anything. And over here, I lost Spain, which became nationalist, but soon the Allies avenged my loss and took it back. And here on the African front, I held good. Italy took over Abyssinia, but that's about it on their end. Over here, Japanese had a failed invasion of China. And what I mean by fail is they got in, but they couldn't get out. And they weren't able to get DEI, or FEC for that matter. And then the USA over here had a major battle over, was it Wake? Which led to a Japanese Pyrrhic victory. But fortunately, the Japanese fleet is just scaving by. So that's it on my end.
Okay, Global War 36 enthusiast here with kind of a wrap-up video about what happened in our game. The big thing is Madman Dan was one of the winners last year, so he was a returning champion to our table. And I think before the game started, the Comintern and allies formulated a plan on how they were going to respond to the threat of Madman. And what they did was they made a negotiation here in China where they were going to, on the very first turn, when it was Germany's turn, they declared war on each other, on warlords, an equal number of warlords. So they basically switched. The KMT gave some warlords converted over to CCP. I think the ones here and Tibet. And in return, the CCP declared war on the warlords down here and converted them to KMT. And that was even before Madman had his first turn. So the alliance was real, and it made it very difficult for Madman Dan to make a lot of progress. On top of that, I witnessed horrific luck for poor Dan at the beginning of the game especially. He just couldn't catch a break, and he all his land units were getting crushed. And furthermore, the CCP was just like a rabid after him, just coming at him, just attacking him viciously. And so in the early part of the game, things were really dramatically impacting the potential momentum and growth for Japan. And I don't think Madman ever really recovered from that. Then if we go over here to Germany, I had wanted to get some subs in the early part of the game, and in our pre-game planning, what is there something?
No.
Okay. In our pre-game planning, Madman was really arguing strongly for air transports. So at first, after our first conversation, I was only going to buy 2 submarines with Germany. Then we had another conversation, and he winnowed me down to only buying 1 sub in the beginning of the game. And finally, Madman Dan talked me into no subs, and it was air transports instead. So then when the attack of France came around, there was an opportunity to attack on turn 6. And the key to that was that the French had set up in the Maginot line and in Paris. And they had put a lot of weight in the Maginot, but there was a way to flank it coming in through Picardy. And then on the next second combat phase, using the Lightning War special ability, I could hit Alsace-Lorraine without going through the Maginot. And that was really appealing to me because if you attack into Paris, all the militia that Fortress Drinks had purchased, they have the chance of getting a target selection on a 1, and then you lose you lose a medium armor. So the way I did it, I didn't have to risk that happening, and I didn't have to face his AA gun either. so we did the surround strategy. We bombed this air base to prevent scrambling. And this was the next thing that Madman Dan was so helpful. This was a tactic that he was like, hey, let's bomb that air base and with the medium bomber. So that worked out really well in getting this round. But I was really unlucky. And I had calculated enough to lose just cavalry, but I ended up losing 3 mechanized infantry as well. So basically lost 12 more than I expected. And this also increased the income for the Allies earlier in the game, and it increased America's income earlier in the game. If you wait till, say, turn 8 and go in. So do you have anything to add about the attack on France? Fall of France?
I think strategically we had a good idea, but I think the dice rolls.
The dice rolls kind of hurt. Exactly.
We lost all our mech and we're down to tanks.
Yeah, exactly. It was not a good start. So that was kind of, if I remember right, that was kind of the end of the first night, or was it? No, that happened on the
second day.
Second day, and I felt very disheartened. I was like, oh my God, that we're really not doing well. Right as when Paris fell, then Fortress Jinx, or I guess it's just Jinx, declared war with the French on Iran. And what that did was it made Iran go Axis. So these 3 territories went Axis. And since these 2 were adjacent to Russia, that gave Russia 2d12 to their income. It hurt America's income by lowering it 8. And theoretically, it should have really put America on its heels. But Jinx just kept rolling really lucky. His first 3 D12 rolls for income were a 12, an 11, and a 9. So he got 32 on his first 3 rolls. And it was just so disheartening for Hoshi and I. So anyway, I was really dejected. I think I called you, Dan, that night. I was like, oh my God, we're getting 3rd place on this table. So... was it the next? It was just yesterday. All this happened. All the major stuff happened yesterday. Okay, so still on Saturday, 2 days ago, what happened was turn 6 we take Paris, turn 7 took Switzerland, turn 8 took Yugoslavia. Had the units in place for a turn 9 invasion. And I think we started Saturday morning, is that right?
I think so.
Maybe with the invasion of towards the end of the day. Boy, my brain is so fried. It's hard to remember exactly when this stuff happened. But on turn 9, Russians had 103 IPP banked.
Yeah.
And they were making 34 a turn because of the 2 D12s here.
You rolled an 11.
Did I roll an 11?
No.
Or he did. He rolled an 11 for his sleeping bear? Or no, he rolled 11 for those 2. Thanks. Okay, and so he had, by turn 9, he was up to 34 per turn. He had 103 in the bank. And I thought to myself, I absolutely must declare war on Russia, because the longer I wait, the more his giant build is going to be. So I declared war. And again, I tipped my hat to Madman Dan, because he took me outside and said, hey, are you going to declare war this turn? I was like, well, I'm thinking about it. I'd like to look and study it. And he's like, don't do that. Go in there and declare war right now before Russia does. Because if Russia had declared war, that would have taken away my surprise attack. And it would have only hurt him 12 IPP. So that was brilliant, Dan. Nice thinking. Because when we attacked, I was able to send medium armor, 2 spaces forward, and took a lot of territory from him. But he could only, and I also airdropped in Royal Curse. Yeah, and he could only counterattack in one territory because we had used the surprise attack. Another thing we did was we took out his navy using the plus from the air units. What were you going to say, Dan?
Hopefully this comes up on camera, but since we took this territory, he could not burn nor move that factory. So that meant on our second follow-up attack, we could have plenty of stuff to take back what he would take on and just bite and hold.
Yes.
And what ended up happening is Oral Kursk. Well, I'll let you do.
Yes. So, okay. Brilliant move number 3 for Madman Dan. I was looking at attacking Leningrad. I was totally focused on Leningrad. I was doing the pips. And Dan's like, I think we can go for Oral Kursk. And I was like, what about the counterattack out of Moscow? And he's like, he really doesn't have that much there yet, So we had spread out on turn 9. The pieces were everywhere. Turn 10, everything went to Oral Curse. So it was like a neat, coalition. And there was another brilliant thing that Dan thought of, which was I had a lot of infantry that was scattered about. I think there were 8 infantry that were within range of 2 of Moscow. And I thought that you could only upgrade 1 or 2 motorized infantry to motorized, but Madman looked it up and decided that in version 3 there was an unlimited number that you could upgrade. So we upgraded 8 motorized infantry. That was brilliant. Another key thing was rolling for tech that turn, because I developed long-range bombers, or long-range aircraft. And so that turn I bought 4, in Western Germany, I bought 4 medium bombers. And then Italy lend-leased another medium bomber. So there were 5 medium bombers that could fly 6 to Moscow and land a 7th move in Oral Kursk. So Dan, what are you seeing about that? Is there anything else about that Oral Kursk turn 10?
No, I think that was pretty about, pretty much sums up what happened there.
Yep.
Global War did mention how we upgraded 4, so motorized here, but unfortunately they were killed in a breakup from Kiev, so I guess we should have just gone to there in the first place.
Right, it didn't even matter. Yeah. But then that was the end of Saturday. And there's one more thing, which is that was the German move at the end of Saturday, but there was an American turn 10 move where they lend-leased to Russia 21 IPP. And at that moment, Dan and I looked at each other across the table, and Dan raised his eyebrow. It was because we were both like, oh my God, Moscow's going to fall. He just threw 21 IPP away. They don't realize how much danger they're in. Mm-hmm. And that was the end of Saturday.
Yeah, I think that's where we brought the medium bombers in. I think they were talking about how all these medium bombers on the Western Germany were going to go somewhere over here.
Yes, that's exactly right. They were thinking the medium bombers were going to be used against Britain, but what they didn't realize was that they were all going to go to Moscow. And Saturday morning, I guess Jinx and Sky Marshal were talking, and they realized that Moscow was in trouble, that the medium bombers could fly to Moscow, and they realized that we were going to... Oh, go ahead.
Do you want to talk about the improved construction blessing in disguise?
I had... yes, so I missed my role for improved construction, and was I going to build an air base in Oral Kursk, or...
Eastern Germany.
I was going to build an air base in Eastern Germany, and then that would have tipped our hat. They would have... Oh, I was going to buy jets. Thank you. Madman Dan's brain is working better than mine. So because we didn't develop improved construction and buy jets, we built medium bombers, which made the Allies worried that they were coming for them instead of going towards Moscow. So that was a blessing in disguise. So Saturday morning we started off, we took Moscow. And that was just devastating because the Soviets did not have anything that they could counter with, and it was the end for them. That basically they were knocked out of the game. And I just want to say how much I respect Kaiser Sariona, I always mess up his name, for how he continued to fight. He didn't throw a fit. He was good-spirited. He was helpful as far as the rules. There's that saying, how a man wins shows you something of his character, but how a man loses shows you everything about his character. And he still fought on tenaciously. What the Allies did was they had talked to the Soviets about basically being a stopgap in Transcaucasia. So the rest of the game, the Soviets just made Transcaucasia a huge fortress, or a huge force. And Dan and I were thinking of having my German forces go down there into Transcaucasia and then just opening up the Middle East. But there was just too much to fight there with the Russians. So that was a smart move for the Allies to use the Russians as their basically wall there. Okay, what would you like to say, Dan?
In hindsight, maybe we should have started pushing this way.
Yes, that would have been so smart. Yeah.
I can maybe talk about.
Yes, please. Do you want to hold the microphone? Here you go.
So let's talk about Japan. As Global War 36 enthusiast mentioned, they split up China early on, which really threw a wrench in my plans. And in hindsight, I feel that I should have gone abandon China strategy. I have one strategy, because obviously China is such a quagmire, where you evacuate all your units from Chinese home country, which is here, 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 and here, upgrade all its militia and move it out, and then China can't declare war on you. And then you have time to build up your forces and take out all the Dutch East Indies in one big swoop, and then move on to FEC. But that was not the way we wanted to go. We wanted to stick to our plans, and I think in hindsight that may have been a mistake. But it was a rough go in the Far East. I guess me doing so poorly did put a bullseye on my back. So we had a lot of British and American ships coming towards me to take out my poor fleet. There was one big action off Wake Island, which should have gone in my favor, but it was not to be. I only lived with 4 or so heavy cruisers and 3 light cruisers, and all my aircraft died. And I guess what's painful about that is the American fleet was in Wake, and my initial plan was to post up into this sea zone, build a major port, and wherever he goes, I can go one more and then chase him down. But again, that was the road not taken, and mistakes were made. We tried our best to romp around Southeast Asia by going into Hong Kong and taking out these territories. That's why you don't see any militia there anymore. But in the end, we had to fall back and just hold on to Nanking, and hold on to Tokyo, and keep those victory points for the Axis team.
Did Godzilla show up?
Yes, represented by the American represented by the American menace in my lands. So all we really had left was Tokyo, and that was that. But hopefully I was able to contribute my strategy in my other theaters.
Oh my gosh, the victory for the Axis is 100% due to Madman Dan. Like, after turn 11, the fall of Moscow, turn 12 was the fall of Leningrad. Madman helped orchestrate the surrounding of Leningrad, the blockading of the bombing of the airfield, so that collapsed. And then after that, we switched over to building air units. Again, Madman Dan's idea, although I was the one who was pushing for jets, and I did build 11 jets through the course of the game, and 6 medium bombers, and I think we had maybe 5 air transports at the end.
Yeah.
So a huge air armada as for a turn 15 fall of, I believe, maybe 14. 15 was London, the fall of London, from just a huge air armada.
So let's maybe go to the more interesting side of the board.
No, it's not. And I only got it because Japan decided to shift its focus from me.
And that attack on London was totally Madman Dan's idea. So again, full credit. I was carried by a master.
So at the end, we had, where'd my pointer go? We had all those aircraft down here, and we had ended up with all this aircraft up here. And with that, we could really project our power to the British islands. We took London one turn, then on the next turn we followed up by taking Scotland. But with that many aircraft, you can just pound and pound away and just decimate the Royal Air Force. I think at some point he must have had maybe some 9 fighters and 4 tactical bombers and 2 strategic bombers, and over repeated turns of just punishing the British.
Air attack, dark skies.
Yeah, dark skies. We really put some pressure on here. And eventually, since we had so much money, we built 4 transports and landed a bunch of stuff in Scotland. And it was too much for him to take back because we cleared these zones with massive air attacks.
Do you want to do the end of the game? Talk about the last turn with Italy?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, since we sort of ran out of time, sadly, we we declared that we'd only play one more turn, which is unfortunate because it let Italy know they weren't going to be attacked. So preceding that, we decided to move some transports out here to land here I don't think that's on camera, to land here and take points away from the Monroe Doctrine. We decided to hide our single battleship because once London fell, we didn't have to worry about building more battleships than the British, which were all hiding and rushing back to the homeland. So we moved the rest of our fleet down into the Indian Ocean here and put a lot of stuff in Bataan, Somaliland. We took Aden and sent a couple boats down to the Anzac to take a point away from them, 2 destroyers. And with that, we were able to take 2 or 3 points off the Allies and really clinch that victory. But with that, I don't think there's really much else to say. It was a great weekend. I really got to give applause to my opponents and the other people at the table, except for maybe Hilltop. Boo! But no, it was a great weekend with great people, and we'll hope to do it again in the future. This has been Madman Dan. Global 36 enthusiast has run off, so I will say good day for him. Reporting to you from the Lion's Den and Prince George, British Columbia, and out.
Hello friends and gamers, this is Fortress Jinx talking on General Hand Grenade's phone as he records. He asked me if I wanted to talk about, or he asked me if I could talk at this table here, and so I thought, hey, I might as well have a few things to say, I suppose. So I want to say right up front that the Axis did a fantastic job at this table, so I'm not sure if General Hand Grenade has put out any video at all about this table, if there's been any information coming at it, but this game is concluded. And the Axis did quite wonderfully well, I would say. So Germany kind of swayed across Europe from coast to coast. They went from almost coast to coast. They took over all the way from Novosibirsk all the way to Normandy. And this map is slightly deceptive because, of course, with last turn, with everybody knowing it was last turn, there's several last-minute gambits where everybody threw in the kitchen sink to try to acquire more territory. So some of these attacks that you see here would not have happened otherwise. So, for instance, this attack against Free French attack where they grabbed some of French territory, well, that's not truly representative of the spirit of how things were. If we had the alternative ending or variable ending rather, where we would have rolled on a dice roll as to what would occur, so we would have probably not gone in for that attack. So I just want to say that right up front. So it may look like we've acquired some territory back from the Germans, but they would have easily pushed us back. So what should we talk about here? So I suppose a little bit of strategy, I suppose, in the nature of I ramble on a little bit. So I think the future of this game would have been quite miserable for the Allies. So we're lucky that the game ended when it did. I do think that the Germans would have thrown all their strength into Britain and would have wiped Britain out bit by bit. The pressure over there was just too extreme. The transports were gone here, but they would have still been in existence. But there was at least 4 transports, naval transports, that could have landed there, and that pressure was just too big. If I remember correctly, I think the Germans had something like $90 of income per turn, which is a huge amount of resources. And I think by themselves, if you exclude the Italians and the Japanese, they could have done quite serious damage and dragged out the war for infinite length of time, in my opinion. Now, of course, part of the reason of their success, I think, is that the Japanese threw a lot of their strength behind the Germans. Well, that's not quite accurate. So Japan was doing things that would benefit the Axis at large, I would say. Something along those lines, because Japan invaded China, of course, for its own benefit, but it didn't necessarily need to invade Russia. Yes, it got a little bit of a bonus and cut off some lend-lease there, but it was not necessary that it do so. And as you see here, the Japanese took the brunt of all the Allied attacks, because our analysis of the situation was once Russia fell and the capital fell, the only way for the Allies to get first place victory was to put all of our attention on this side of the globe. Because if we took out Japan, which we effectively did, they have 0 victory points, then it might have given us a chance to succeed. But the only way we would have actually gotten first place was if we took over Tokyo as well as Nanking. That was the only chance at victory on this side of the globe. But That would have knocked them down by 2 victory points and knocked us up by 2, and we would have had a spitting chance at succeeding and being victorious, in our opinion, right? And it would also negate all their income, and then theoretically we could have clawed our way back to victory. At least that was the attempt anyways. The game length of turn, it would not have succeeded to that degree, but as it stands here, we would have been able to blockade Japan within a couple turns. If not, well, maybe not next turn, but the subsequent turn, we would have been able to blockade Japan and thereby negate them as a force and being, in my opinion. But I could be wrong on that, of course. This is all this ramblings on. It takes away some of the human element behind things, where we might be doing things, but the opponent is also acting and doing things and throwing wrenches into the works behind the situation. So yeah, overall it's been a great game by the Axis players, from coast to coast essentially. They've dominated everywhere, and they've done a fantastic job of it. So it's been an absolute pleasure to play with these gentlemen. They're very capable individuals. We were playing with Madman Dan, of course, and Global War Enthusiast, who are quite giants in strategic minds. So it was quite fun to play with them. As well as we also had Sky Marshal and Kaiser Sariona playing as, well, the Kaiser is playing as Russia, and Sky Marshal was playing as Britain. So they're quite the pleasure to play with as well. So thank you all, and I'll talk to you on my channel, I suppose. And yeah, thank you, Brian, for giving me this opportunity to chat on this channel as well. Cheers.
Hello everybody, Sky Marshal here. Just saying a few words on General Hand Grenade's channel about this this tournament that we had here, and it was pretty awesome. Of course, you know, I'd say that, but it really was. Having 10 of like-minded individuals and people that love what you do here at this tournament, it's a great feeling. You know, we had a lot of fun, a lot of enjoyment. And a lot of ups and downs, and definitely this definitely tops last year because of the amount of people, and that alone made it special for me, hands down. And of course the trophy and all the awards and all the accolades given out, you know, some 2-time winners now in a row. We have a few more promotions with our stars, with our general stars, admiral stars now given out, 2 stars. Overall, I'm just really happy with the help from Fortress Jinx and General Hand Grenade, and everybody, of course, that actually helped out. Little things with the tournament. Catering was great. We had a very good meal. Actually, we still have one more meal for dinner time. But aside from that, I just overall really hope people can make the pilgrimage, if you want to call it that way, up to Prince George here and participate in this event, because it's only going to get bigger or better. And you know what? With bigger and better becomes more issues and logistics. But you know what? It's where my heart is, and that's where I hope to keep it for many years to come in putting on this event. But thanks again, guys, and this is Sky Marshal signing out from the Lion's Den in Prince George, British Columbia, ending the 2022 Summer Offensive. Take care, guys.